Is he impersonating that guy? I don't know his name. Ashton or something like that. What the? Bro.
Adolescence on Netflix is currently the biggest show in the world. The drama about a 13-year-old misogynist who kills a teenage girl has been seen by 25 million people so far and was raised by the British Prime Minister in Parliament.
Since with our children, I've got a 16-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl, and it's a very, very good documentary to watch, or drama. This violence carried out by young men, influenced by what they see online, is a real problem. It's abhorrent, and we have to tackle it.
It's actually a fictional story, Prime Minister, not a documentary, but as the Prime Minister referenced, it tells the story of young boys who are radicalised by content online. There are references to the manosphere, the Matrix, incels, and red pills. Andrew Tate gets a name check. And that part of the show has sparked an outpouring of commentary about the abject horrors of the internet and the crisis of male role models.
Banged by a girl, you saucy.
You're not getting it.
Who am I not getting?
Lads, you're not reading what they're doing. It's a call to action by the manosphere. 80% of women are attracted to 20% of men. You must trick them because you'll never get them in a normal way.
Well, The Guardian summed up the general tone of the reporting with a headline that said, from the police to the Prime Minister, how Adolescence is making Britain face up to toxic masculinity. But is it really? Can it not just be a successful drama that references popular culture, as so many do? Critics of the show say it's another version of the same man-bashing narrative that gave rise to the so-called manosphere in the first place. Well, here to debate all this is the host of The Crucible, Andrew Wilson, the radio host, James Barr, the host of Tommy Laren is Fearless on Outkick, Tommy Laren, and the host of The Determined Society, Sean French. Well, welcome to all of you. Andrew Wilson, let me start with you, because look, I've got three sons, 31, 27, 24. I think I brought them up to respect women, to not behave in a misogynist way, and to behave in a decent way generally. But I'm also aware that they've grown up in an era when the likes of Andrew Tate and others have become increasingly dominant in the way that a lot of impressionable young men start to think and view women. And for all that Andrew Tate can say that is positive about getting fit and being successful and confident and so on, there's indisputably a hardcore streak of misogyny that runs through his veins, which I think has been quite damaging to young men. So I'm not all in either way here, but I can certainly see the arguments. Where do you sit?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that this so I watched the show, and it just goes through a typical feminine view, right? So all of these things are always through the prism of the feminine. So young boys, they don't do well at school. They don't do well in school because it's all programmed for the feminine. Stay still, fold your hands, right? Be quiet. Boys are rambunctious. They like to beat each other up. They like to be mischievous. They like to break things. They like to do that kind of stuff. There's no outlet for them to do that stuff. Their teachers are all women, right? There's basically all masculinity is now considered toxic. Basically all of it. The same women who are getting their double shot of espresso on the way over to the school they're about to teach at. They're 24 years old. Sometimes they're banging their own students, right? Hilariously enough. And then these people go out to Parliament. The same women will go to Parliament. They vote to send men off to war to stab each other in the face with bayonets. And you're concerned about toxic masculinity. It cracks me up. It's like the brutal savagery of men is a necessary precondition for society to exist. And we just kind of pretend like it's not. And this show should actually be an indictment on the feminine rather than the masculine. because basically masculinity is just punished everywhere, all the time, nonstop. It's no wonder guys like Andrew Tate get so famous in these spaces. I mean, what's the alternative? The alternative is everything must be feminine, tone policing, nonsense like this. It's ridiculous.
All right, James.
I really do have to agree with everything you just said. It's because everything is feminized. That's why Andrew Tate becomes famous with his talking points. Can't disagree with that. And it stems from the home in the first place. It stems from the mom controlling their household, feminizing the kids and traumatizing them. And the dad is so weak. The dad is so weak to stand up to the woman to show her how to raise her kids. It's because he has not overcome his mom spirit either. So I totally understand where this is coming from. But let's continue.
Oh, you were laughing, but I don't think you had a joy what you're hearing.
No, I mean I don't think you've seen the show. Episode 2 is shot entirely in a school. I didn't see one of the female teachers drinking a double shot of espresso at all. None of the teachers were flirting with students. There were male teachers as well. I don't think you're describing the show here. I think you're describing your own insecurities or agenda.
What is he talking about? He's giving what's happening in society, not necessarily what's happening with the show. I haven't seen the show because I don't want to see it. That's just dumb to me. But this guy, you can already tell he's a feminine guy. He has the spirit of the female.
Yeah, so this doesn't contend with the argument. Like, you understand that I'm making an argument, an indictment of society itself, based around
Exactly.
my ideas that I'm seeing from this show. That's what I'm actually doing. So, if you could contend with the fact that male savagery is necessary for the security of a nation, and that women will indeed vote in the future in parliaments to send men off to war to stab each other in the face at 18 years old with bayonets, perhaps you could contend with that. And before we start, getting into, well, tone policing is actually good and toxic masculinity is actually bad. It's like, I think there needs to be a little bit more toxic masculinity, or what you consider to be toxic masculinity.
Well, great, good for you.
Nothing.
I'm glad you think so.
Nothing.
I just don't need to argue with that because
You just unlocked. You got nothing.
You're making up
You
an
do
agenda
seem
that
unusually
I've not
muted.
said.
He was
I've not
stunned.
said anything. I haven't literally said nothing.
He was stunned. He had nothing to say to that. Nothing. I don't agree with what they call toxic masculinity, because man being man is actually necessary to raise a society of kids. And it's because there's no masculinity in the family, that's why society is like this. There's no dads in the black community because the government came in and tell the black woman, listen, to get this benefit from the government, you can't have dads in their home. And they incentivize women not to have fathers in the home to get a paycheck from the government because the government stepped in and started taking care of the children. So yeah, especially the black community. And then the boys end up being feminized and become emotional, and societies run off emotions. That's crazy.
James, you were literally rendered silent. Like you had no way of responding.
I'll tell you what, you can't argue with a completely illogical argument that had, I've not made any
It's a logical argument. You may not agree with
It is a
but
logical
it's
argument.
a very logical argument.
that you are firing at me. None of those comments are things I've said or believe in.
All right, I want to bring Tommy in because Tommy, you've got
Who
a
is
very
this
interesting
guy?
perspective, I think.
Someone
You've
couldn't get
talked
their
about
woman
something
after
differently called
this
the
podcast.
Pacification
That's
of
crazy.
men, which is a great phrase. I'd love you to just explain what you mean by that. But also, you're not a fan of Andrew Tate or the influence he has. So that makes you, I think, an interesting commentator in this area. So just explain, first of all, the pussification of men.
All right, Piers. Well, I think, and I can't see you all, so forgive me if I'm incorrect here, but I think I'm the only female on this panel,
Correct.
so I'm really anxious to weigh in. Okay, so I think over the last probably 10 years, there has been what I call the pussification of men. It was everything should be about your emotions and your feelings, and men were emasculated, and this whole concept of toxic masculinity warped the minds of a lot of young men, and they felt masculine, they wanted to be masculine, but society was telling them they should be softer, that it was being toxically masculine if you wanted to play sports and chop wood and go to war. And so men were so emasculated and so beat down that then there was this revolution of what was actually toxic masculinity, the Tate brothers and others, which I feel as a female that doesn't represent true masculinity. That to me represents douchebaggery. And as a woman, I want a strong man who is a protector and a provider, that will go to war if need be, that will protect me, protect my family, make money. I see that as being actually masculine. That's like the man that I grew up with, my dad. But what we're seeing now is these young men who look at Andrew Tate and the Tate brothers, and they see somebody who's just quite frankly a douchebag and disrespects women, and because they've been so emasculated, they're like, oh great, that's a manly man. But that's not right either. So at some point, I think we'll go back to maybe meeting in the middle here. You can be a man who has feelings and emotions, but you can also go to war and protect and defend your family. I'm hoping we can get back there. But the two extremes right now, they're confusing men, and quite frankly, they're leaving women with few choices. And that's the real tragedy here.
You see,
Bro, see, this is the thing with conservative women. And I think she's a conservative woman. This is the thing, right? She's like, I want a provider, a protector, a strong man that's there for me, that can defend me and go to war. Yet she has that man. What is she as a woman doing? She's still out here working. I'm not sure if she has kids, but if you have all of these things, if you have a man and you're married, why are you working? So you can feel just like a man? So you can feel valued? So you can feel equal? You should be staying at home raising this guy's kids, because he's a provider, he's a protector, he's taking care of you, he's emotionally, as you per se, which is a factor that's incorrect. Emotions are from the devil, right? They're from the devil, 100%. Because you can't get emotions without getting thoughts. And you have to confide with the devil, which he lives in your thoughts, he lives in your imagination. He gives you all of these preconception of what things could be. It's so funny today. I was at home and an opportunity came, and I saw myself went into thoughts, thinking about, what it could be, what my life could look like if this actually went into play. And I was like, caught you, the devil. Because I'm working on myself. I can see him coming from a mile away. And I just laugh and I just let it go. Because he's setting me up. He let me get all these feelings. And I'm like, that's not good. And you will go into thoughts, get these imagination. Then you get the feeling. And once you get the feeling like, oh, this feels so good, you're judging. You're becoming God. How can you judge? The only person that can judge is God. So these emotions that people are talking about, being emotional on, it's all fake. It's all lie. It's actually hatred, right? And you get the feeling you're going to do the action. It's actually hatred because it was passed down from your mom when you were a little kid. You were traumatized from your mom. And you think it's love. But it's all lies. It's from the devil, the deceiver. So don't listen to these female. Because they are the one that have made the devil their God. They are the one that have done it. And because you're raising the family from the mom, it's passed down from your mom to you. When she couldn't deal with the stress, she'd take it out on you and left you traumatized. And you go in your thoughts by hating. You went into your thoughts, your imagination, for whatever reason, for whatever she did to you. You end up resenting her, and you went in your mind, you hate her, you hate what she's doing to you. And because we're a spiritual being, whatever you hate, you end up taking on. So these women talking about emotional feelings, it's a bunch of crap. Especially these conservative women. They want it both. They want a man that can provide and protect for them and yet be out here working. All bull crap. So don't you ever, whenever you listen to a woman, you might suffer. Not saying women can't say what is true, but they will say what's true, but it's surface level. right? Because they don't understand a life half a man. They can't comprehend it, no matter how much they try. But let's keep going.
I completely agree with you, but Andrew, you were shaking your head quite vigorously. Why?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just more feminine or feminist nonsense, ultimately.
100%.
And, covert feminism
agree.
in society is big, especially on the conservative side. So here's what happens, right? Women need to have feminine virtues for men to be pursuing masculine virtues. For you to say things like, well, men, what I want is for men to protect me and I want men to make money. Well, that's great. What that ends up doing is it gives you a set of privilege in society. What do men get? What do men get for doing that for you? What are we getting from women for doing that? Are we getting chaste virgins?
And this is where Andrew Tate comes in. Why so many men look up to Andrew Tate? Because of this dumb, crazy things that women say and try to have both ways. Crazy.
Our wedding night? No, we're not getting chaste virgins on our wedding night. Are we getting women of great virtue? No, we're not getting women of great virtue. The idea of courtly love is supposed to be done for women of great virtue. Where are they? Well, they're nowhere. And so in modernity, in society, when female conservative influencers say this, it's actually a form of covert feminism. They're saying, I want privilege in society, right? But what is it women are giving to men to get it? What? What
I
are they
love how
giving them?
she's laughing.
Tell me.
It's true.
Pierce, can I please chime in here?
Yeah.
Anytime you say the truth and someone kind of laugh it off, it's true. They're kind of downplaying it. 100%.
Yes, you can. And then James can, and I'll come to you, Sean.
No, I would love to. I love this whole thing of like, if you're a female conservative and you don't believe that men should be douchebags, that all of a sudden you're a covert feminist. Call me a feminist. I really don't give one crap one way or another, but I can tell you this. A lot of these men...
That is true because your husband is not the man in the relationship, clearly. He can't tell you not to work because you're out here working. Clearly. He doesn't run his home. He's not the head of his family like God said it should be. He's subjective to the woman. And the woman is the devil because she made the God her devil. 100%. She goes off emotions.
And these podcast hosts on the right that like to think of themselves as these big masculine men, and what am I getting out of it? I can tell you this.
There's that feminism.
All right, I believe I'm a woman of virtue, right? Yeah, there's the feminism. Oh, and then you're interrupting me too.
Didn't
which
take
is great.
long,
I let
did
you
it?
talk.
Didn't
It's
take
my
long,
turn.
did it?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to speak over me?
Yeah, I don't care if you call me. I don't really care if you call me a
strong,
feminist.
independent woman.
Yeah. Yeah. You're actually interrupting me. I didn't interrupt you when you were spewing your bullshit. So now it's my turn. Okay.
You mean the truth?
Like I said before. So I believe I'm a... There we go again. Pierce, I'm a woman of virtue. I happen to be independently successful. I have a husband who's not only a former professional athlete, but is currently a professional baseball coach. So is he not a masculine man? I mean, I'm confused here. What's your concept of a masculine man? Mine is a man who respects me.
Yeah.
She didn't address any of the points that he made. She just went on and rumbling about herself and her husband and defend herself from being called a feminist or whatever. And this is what I tell you, a woman that's prideful, egotistic, and base her value oh, I'm this, I need to be equal to a man, she'll make your life a hell. Cause why is she out here working? Why is she not taking care of her kids? Why is she running a business when her husband can clearly provide for her? She resents her dad and her mom. She should forgive them for what they have done to her.
That misses the point, though. Like, you're still not contending with the argument
what's your
making.
point?
I'm saying inside of society, right this second, right, masculinity is not only punished, but also women on the right, covert feminists on the right, are constantly and consistently talking about how they need to have privilege in society. I want men. Their version of masculinity is men who take care of us, men who protect us, men who do all of this. Those are all duties that men have towards women. Great. What are the duties that women have towards men? What are the duties that women have towards anything? What do men get out of this arrangement? What are we getting out of this arrangement? Can you tell me?
I mean, you.
Well, I
as
would
I was going to
argue
answer
that men
a second ago.
innately should
Well,
be
I don't want to
protectors
interrupt
and
you. Hang on a
providers.
second. Let Tommy
Most men are
respond.
So, you guys may not like this point, but I don't care. The reason why this is such a struggle, this is the reason why. It starts in the family. It does. It definitely starts in the family when raising a kid. But also, the man is looking to the woman for salvation. And the woman is looking to the man for salvation. And it will never work. Because the only thing that can bring you salvation is finding the kingdom of God. The men want this, the women want that. And they're both fighting each other to get what they want. Two evil, two devils that haven't worked in themselves to see what's happening within them is happening with everyone else around them, fighting for control over each other. And it will never work because you haven't put what's needed to bring a relationship together in front of you. And that's the reason why. There's no God in your relationship. You can claim to know God, but do you really know God? And that's the big difference.
Born that way.
Let Tommy respond to that, and then I'll come to you, Jez. And then Sean, you've been waiting patiently. So
most men are born to be protectors and providers. I can't imagine my dad saying, you know what, to my mom, you know what, I'm not going to be a protector and a provider unless you do this. That's not how real men operate. Real men are protectors and
what is a real man?
And they marry women who hopefully
great.
have
A
some
woman telling us
virtues,
what
but
real
also
men
bring a
are
lot to
again.
the
Great.
table as well, that are great mothers, great wives, caretakers of the home. There's nothing wrong with being a traditional wife and mother. You're misunderstanding me if you think that I think that women should just be out doing whatever they want. I think that there are gender roles that should be respected. But I don't think a man needs to get something out of it to be a manly man, a protector, and a provider. If you think you need to get something out of it, I quite frankly don't consider you a real man.
Yes.
Why are you attacking the guy? Like, that makes no sense to me. But she's going to talk about what a real man is. What is a real man? A woman telling a man what a real man is. And yet a man cannot tell a woman what a woman is. Because when you tell them a woman have this type of chromosome, they're like, no, a woman gets to choose what she is. I'm like, bro, that's crazy. But let's continue.
She have nothing. She have nothing.
Well, we'll discuss in a moment whether Andrew Wilson is a real man.
Piers, I offer nothing. I offer nothing.
She's so prideful and egotistic. That's crazy.
That's why I always love having you on the show. You know that.
I feel sorry for the guy that she's married to, because that guy is his thing is just cut off. It's cut off. She runs that relationship 100%. 100%. Imagine dealing with her, man. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Let's go to a real
Combative.
man, James Barr.
Thank you. I do see myself as a man, and I know that you were looking at me thinking, well, you're not. You're wearing makeup. You're wearing colourful clothes. Like, look at me. I'm really camp. My nails are
I
painted.
mean, they are worried.
Buddy, you're not a man. You're a male. You are a male. Definitely you're a male, but you're not a man. You don't know what a true man is. 100%. You don't know that.
You know, you're sat there smoking a cigarette. I'd love to get a vape out and start drinking a beer.
That doesn't make you a man either.
With you over that. I think that you have some insane opinions on what women are meant to do for you. It's crazy that you don't appreciate that a woman actually gave birth to you. Like, she gave you a womb for 9 months and then looked after you, I would hope, for the beginning of your life. And you're sat there going, what do women owe men? Women don't owe men anything. No one owes you anything. You have your own life.
Do you understand that if you make an argument and you say
I
that women are
watched
supposed
your
to be
seminar on how to win an
in a
argument.
position, if women are supposed to be in a position of privilege where men do A, B, C, and D for them, and then I ask, well, what duties do women have? And you say, well, nothing.
No one said
right?
that
And then
men
you wonder,
need-
why are men
personally,
checking
I don't-
out? I don't know why men are checking out. I don't get it.
You just
That's
suck
silly,
so
man.
funny.
All right,
That's
let me bring
a
you
silly
something.
argument.
Okay, I just want to adjust the point that this feminine guy just made about women give you the womb and bring you here for 9 months. How did she do that? How did she do it without the man? I would love to know. And women don't bring life here. God bring lives into fruition. God bring the life. The man plow the field, plant the seed, and God do the miracle. Women don't give life. Just so you understand that. Because these people use the craziest argument, man. She's the land that bring that bring it so it grows. But she doesn't own life. Neither the man. God brings life. This is crazy, man.
Actually, so far hasn't
That's
said
crazy.
a word about this. There's a lot of interesting things to say.
How far in this
welcome to
video are
Uncensored.
we? Oh, Lord.
I think one of the key things of this series that's made it so popular is that anyone who's had young sons knows that they are, if you're not careful, they get exposed to a lot of nasty stuff on the internet. We all know this. And a lot of it is this kind of incel stuff, which I think can be a really malevolent influence on impressionable young men. And they gravitate to it. And I think that partly what Andrew's getting at, I agree with, in the sense that following the Me Too Time's Up campaigns, which were in many ways, extremely laudable, brought down a lot of very bad men, no question of that. But they also...
Why are they not talking about how feminism is the hatred of man? And they're feminized women all over the place. No one's actually talking about that. That was the agenda of feminism. Just so
the
you
pendulum
know.
swung so wildly that I think a lot of young men in particular felt
Because of their
completely
mom. That's crazy.
disenfranchised from society, felt
It
like
starts
they
in
were
the family.
being treated like a bunch of young Harvey Weinsteins, unless they could prove otherwise. They didn't really know what the rules of engagement were with women, with teenage girls anymore, whatever. They lost their way, and by losing their way, they gravitated, I think, to very loud voices on the internet like Andrew Tate, who I think, like I say, he says a lot of stuff I find myself nodding to, and then he'll say this.
They didn't lose their way. 100% they didn't lose their way. It's the parents' responsibility. They're kids. It falls on the parents. Shows that the parents are not good parents. Because guess what? The woman out here working, going crazy, and the man does not know how to handle the woman. So that's what most of the time there's a lot of single mom, because the guy doesn't know how to handle the woman, so he end up leaving her, and she will use the kid against him to get some reprimand or whatever she wants to do, because now she judges the guy and resents the guy, so she'll try everything for the kid not to be in the guy's fault, for the guy not to be in the kid's life, right? And not only that, it's because the guy doesn't know how to handle the woman, because he take on the spirit of his mom. So the only way he knows to handle a woman is to give her these emotional love, soft love, because he's looking back from her the same love he's giving to her. But she now judged him and realized that he's not a man, he's a female, because he give her love like a female. And she's not looking for that. That's why most women end up leaving a relationship, because that's how most men are. They're emotional. And that's what women say, I want an emotional man. And when they get it, they don't want it. Because he's too feminine. It reminds her of her mom. That's crazy.
Misogynist stuff, which I just despise it. I see no reason why you should ever want to have a relationship with a woman the way that Andrew Tate wants you to, where it's just pure misogyny. Just talk to me first of all about why you think young boys, teenage boys, young men, why they gravitated to people like Tate. Because they have.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I think it's, first of all, we got to understand that we have an amazing responsibility as a parent to lead from the home and to have these open conversations with our young children. All right, whether they're male children, female children, we have to make sure that we're having open door conversations and we are tackling the hard subjects. Because if we don't take care of everything at home, we don't take care of everything in public, like at school, and other forces within society that help raise our children, we always say it takes a village. Well, it certainly does, but it starts at home. And if you cannot have these open conversations and allow your children to be honest and open with how they are feeling about society and the things that they are seeing,
I just have to stop it there for a little bit. He says it starts in the home. I 100% agree with that. But then he jumps to say it takes a village. No, it doesn't, because guess what? Society is the village now, and they're influencing your kids how to be in society. So does it take a village? No, it doesn't. That's the old days. That's the whole trick that they tell you. That's why people are like this. Because a village will raise your kids and give them the principle that they want to give your kids. Right? So no, it doesn't. It takes you, the parent. And he says, oh, they raise your kids in school and all of these other things. Listen, that's why you have a mom at home raising your kids and taking care of your kids at home. And she can raise the kid properly by you helping her and telling her how to raise the kid. And she raised the kid how you want the kid to be raised. Because remember, evil still does come to the woman. Because when those emotional feelings comes over her, she gets erratic. She doesn't know how to control it. So it's your responsibility, the man, that is just, God made you in the image of, in likeness. Your wisdom come from God. And you're able to pass it down to the woman. And the woman pass it down to your kid. Not school teach your kid. Not, because schools are crap. They're crap.
They're going to go to misogyny. They're going to go to the Andrew and Tristan Tates of the world, and they're going to learn how to be a man from that. And that is not what society needs. It's not what the world needs. That is not masculinity. It is masquerading as misogyny.
How do we protect young men from the easy access at the moment there is to people like Tate? I mean, how do you actually put a ring fence around them so that you can tackle exactly what you've just said, but they're not also being dragged into that world?
It's tough because they're growing up in a world we never grew up in, Piers. We didn't grow up with the internet. We didn't grow up with Bumble,
that's right.
Tinder, Instagram, Facebook.
No, I was taught how to treat women by my mother, my grandmother.
Open the door,
my
right?
aunts,
Open the door.
A lot of strong women in my family, very strong.
Piers, a beta male. He was taught by his mother, his grandmother, his aunt. How can a woman teach you how to treat a woman? How? She's gonna make you subjective to the woman, being nice to her. She needs emotional love. She needs you to be soft with her. That's not what she wants. Piers have taken on the spirit of his entire woman part of his family. He doesn't know how to be a man. That's crazy. I doubt if he lead his relationship at this point. That's crazy.
Women, and they would just take no crap from the men. So that's the environment I grew up in.
Absolutely. So how do we insulate our children from this?
That's
by having
crazy.
Conversations, putting parameters around the social media aspects of life. And
oh yeah, this guy, he did say, now I forgot. He said something, but now I forgot. It came and it went.
Having the conversations at home. Hey son, hey daughter.
Oh, yes. He said, let's hear him finish.
You're going to see out there in the real world. This is what you're going to see on the internet. If you see something like this, that is not how a true man is supposed to act. And hey, that's not how a real man's supposed to treat you.
Right. So
we have to have.
You can't have conversation with kids and tell them don't do this, because guess what? You tell them not to do it, they're going to go do it. All you need to do is be an example of what it should be. And the kid will come and ask question. Don't force it on the kid, because you force it on the kid, is going to resent you, and the kid's going to do the opposite of what you say. 100%. So just be an example. They will come and they'll seek and they will ask. And even sometimes they'll ask, they'll still fall away. And that's okay. That's their journey. It's just like the prodigal son. It's their journey to go and figure it out. And if they truly love God, if they truly see how evil they are, if they truly see how crazy the world is, if they truly see that they have been through so much and they're frustrated and they're ready to return to the Father, they will return to God. Because God is the only person that can help you and anyone else. You can't help no one. You cannot even help yourself.
The conversations.
Yeah, Andrew, do you intrinsically disagree with what you've just heard?
Yeah, I do. I think, again, All of this is always the burden on men. Burden on men. Burden on men. Men need to be doing this.
No, it's a family, Andrew. The family.
Hang on. Let me finish,
family,
man.
Andrew.
Men need to,
Husband and wife.
Okay, yeah. So let me back up. Okay, again, men need to do this. Men need to do that. What I'm talking about is what duties do women have in society? What are the actual women's duties towards men? Everybody is raised from the time they're kids how we're supposed to treat women. We all know how to treat women. We never talk about how men are supposed to be treated. That's almost never discussed, especially by how women are supposed to treat men, what their duties in society are. This has been completely dispelled. Guys like Tate have risen because Christianity itself has become a feminized religion, especially the Protestant sects has become completely feminized.
Christianity has become
and it didn't
feminized.
used to punish masculinity at all, and now it does. And so, where's the...
Yeah, they got women preachers in church preaching the gospel, telling man how man should be, and I'm like, bro, this is crazy. And it's not under supervision of the man. That is just wild.
Alternative? Where's the spiritual alternative? It's nowhere. And we need to get back to this fundamental question of what even is misogyny. Because I don't think that men kicking the crap out of each other, being brutes, insulting each other, hazing each other, even bullying each other is misogyny. Not only do I not think it's misogyny, I think it's perfectly healthy.
Yeah, but I don't think that's misogyny.
Well-adjusted.
Is that the argument?
But that is not misogyny.
Well, no, hang on.
Wait,
How women see this is
misogyny is where you have a hatred or whatever you want to phrase it towards women. It's not about men treating men.
Sorry, toxic masculinity is what I'm referencing here, and toxic masculinity is what they're claiming leads to misogyny. So what I'm talking about is these are all masculine traits. There's nothing wrong with them, right? When you're talking about misogyny itself, I want to know what that even is. Is it just asserting yourself to women, telling women no, telling them no, that's bullshit?
No, I would say it's okay. Let me
telling
answer
them you're saying stupid things.
Andrew Tate says he's quite open about it. Women should stay at home. They shouldn't go out to work. They should do what he tells them. He's the king of the castle in his house. Blah 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 blah. That is misogyny, isn't it? I've got a daughter.
That's not misogyny.
She can
That's
never
not
leave the
misogyny.
house. She's somebody's.
It's not
That's
never
crazy.
leaving the house. Look, it is true that the world would be a better place if we didn't have it inverted and women did have a natural role at home and that was glorified and that there was government propaganda around the nuclear family and keeping women home. Why do you want to outsource the raising of children to strangers instead of your wife? That's a way better society. Why do you want your best and brightest women forced to go to a workplace instead of the best and brightest women staying at home raising their children? That's a way better system. It's always been a better system.
I guess we're talking freedom of choice.
That's not misogyny.
Women to do anything. It's freedom of choice. It's freedom of choice. I love the fact that my wife's out there working, teaching kids, and building adolescence. I love that.
Bro, your wife do not love your kids. It's a false sense of fulfillment. She have a false self-fulfillment. Instead of staying home, raising your kids and making sure your kids are taken care of and they can grow up to be good for society. And they can raise another generation of your kid, good for society. And everyone works on their family to make sure their family is good for society. She's out here raising other people's kids for a false self of fulfillment so she can feel some type of way about herself, so she can fulfill her ego and her pride and be egotistic to be equal to a man. You're a beta male. I don't even know your name, my guy, but you are a feminine beta male man. You can't even run your household, so no one should actually listen to you. I love you're
that. Into your
That's
point
crazy.
about what do I get from a woman? I have a home. I have 3 beautiful children. I have communication in the house. And to me,
beta male communication in the house. His wife runs that house 100%. Oh, I need you to communicate. What does that even mean? I don't want to talk. Why me not wanting to talk is going to affect you? It shows that she's not working on herself. He's not working on herself. They both depend on each other for fulfillment. They're looking for salvation in each other, and it's never gonna work. It's only destroy. That's crazy.
Anything.
That's
I
wild.
don't understand where I'm not saying you're wrong in your world, but to sit there and say to a woman, "What do I get out of this woman?" That's treating her like an object.
One thing I want to play a clip.
Okay, so it's okay to treat men like objects, give them duties,
I
but
don't
you're not
feel
allowed
like
to
an
give
object.
women duties.
I feel respected.
Okay,
in
well,
my
let me
home.
ask you this.
I'm not
How come
angry
it is
about
in the
it.
United States that men can be drafted? Women can't be drafted, but women can vote to send men to war. 18 years old, they're stabbing each other in the face with bayonets. Women can vote to send men to war that they then themselves do not have to fight. It's a duty that men have, they do not have. What's the counter duty for women? There's no obligation for women to have children, well under replacement rate. It's slated 45% of women will be single in the next 10 years, up to 60% in the next 30. That's the estimates right now. Our replacement rate, we can't even replace our own country's birth rates. That's how low they are.
Maybe
this
that's,
is what
maybe
we're
that's
seeing
people
as
like you that's causing the problem.
a systemic issue inside of society because nobody will put duties on women.
Go on,
Instead,
James.
you just
Maybe it's
pretend.
men.
Bro, this guy have no points to talk about. You said the dumbest things ever. I swear.
Like you
have all
that
the
are
duty.
making that
Maybe that's why the
happen. Maybe you're
replacement
the problem.
rate is low.
You say the dumbest things
Tell
ever.
me as well that you were
Exactly.
just
There we
sat
go.
there.
Don't talk over each other. Let James speak.
I can't understand why you are sat there confidently thinking of yourself as a victim constantly. You have a platform and you're sat here like, I'm a victim, what are women doing for me? What happened in your childhood that has made you so traumatized as an adult that
yay,
you
feminine
cannot stand
psychoanalysis.
women succeeding? I'm so confused. I feel like the problem is not, and actually maybe this is our fault. Maybe this is the left's fault. Maybe this is modern society's fault for leaving people like you behind. But genuinely, we do not hate men, and toxic masculinity has been thrown around a lot. Ultimately, some of what you're saying is toxic, but that's not because you're a man. That's because you're an idiot.
All right.
Okay, so just to give you a quick rejoinder here, again, didn't contend
I
with a
don't
single
know what
argument
you
I
just
made.
said.
You just said, why are you acting like a victim? While you're here talking about how women are
You're not
victims.
contending with arguments that other
It's
people make.
wild to me. It's
Making.
so wild to
You
me.
know
All right, I want to play
you
you
show.
Let me
You
play
have
another
no
clip.
I know this is Piers' show.
Let me go to Tommy. Tommy, I want to play you a clip. This is from a show called Newsnight on the BBC in the UK,
That's
where the host
crazy.
Victoria Derbyshire had a panel of young men on and asked them, when was the last time you cried? Let's watch this.
When was the last time you cried?
Honestly, the last time I cried, I couldn't tell you.
Same with Leo, I can't really remember the last time that I cried fully.
A lot of times I feel emotion and I look at myself, why can't I cry? We're told to suppress our emotions.
I feel like to guys, we may be treated a certain way that evokes an idea that we have to be extremely strong and upfront and here as a man, and I'm going to be composed at all times.
Now, I've got a slight issue with this, Tommy, in the sense that one of the most devastating moments for me as a movie watcher was watching James Bond blubbing in the last Bond movie. Right? I don't think to prove you're a modern man, you need to be sobbing all the time. You know, I can't remember the last time I cried. It doesn't make me less of a man or less empathetic to people or anything. I just think again, the pendulum issue of what we want men to be. I think we're now trying to persuade a lot of young men, if you're not emoting all the time, then you're being suppressed in some way. We have over here the British stiff upper lip, which I think is a really bad rap. I think it's not a bad thing to actually not over-emote. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think
Yeah,
it's,
I
Sorry,
agree
Sean,
with you.
I'll come to you. That was
Listen,
for Tommy. I'll come to you in a minute, Sean.
oh, sorry, Tom.
For Tommy.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all, Piers. I don't think that men should be trained to be overly emotional and that should be a sign now of new maturity, being emotional. I don't agree with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with men crying in certain circumstances. Listen, everybody has a different journey. Everybody has a different set of circumstances. There are circumstances wherein men crying I have no issue with. It's also not up to me to tell a man when he can or cannot cry. I personally prefer the men in my life not to be overly emotional, but that's just a personal preference. Really, who am I to tell a man how he should exhibit his emotions? But
Good,
again, I think that
'cause
there
you're a
is
woman.
two sides here that are both too extreme. You've got the one hand that wants men to be feminine and cry and show their emotion and be weak. And then you've got the other side that says you cannot cry, you must always be strong, and you should look at women as an object So again, there's got to be a happy medium here. I think there once was, but now because of, again, I agree, there was an overreaction of the feminist movement to make men weak. I don't agree with that either.
Yeah.
I just wish we could come to a place where there was a happy medium, where people could just be human beings who could have a gender role but weren't married to that gender role in absoluteness. There's got to be a place for that. I would certainly hope.
Yeah. And
Look at her try to defend herself. You know, you're not obligated to that role. You know what I'm saying? I can still work and take care of my family. You know, that's crazy. That's crazy. But let's continue.
Wilson, when was the last time you cried?
What is that?
When I had a death in my family.
And how long ago was that? If you don't mind me asking.
Many years. Many years. I don't know, maybe a decade, something like that.
Right. So you haven't shed a tear in a decade.
I don't think so. No.
Would you see it inherently as a weakness in a man to over-emote?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Men, listen. You don't want men to fall to pieces in a crisis. You're the head of a family. You're the head of your household, and also you're the heads of nations. You have a moral obligation not to fall to pieces. In fact, I would say you're duty bound not to. You need to be able to control your emotions, and you need to be able to attempt to control them at all times. Not to say that you're not going to lose control. Nobody's perfect. But I think that the idea of the stoic man is a much better prospect for the idea of like this leftist that I'm arguing with next to me on the panel. I would not want to be that guy, that person who just cannot control their internal emotions. They can't do it. And unfortunately, again, this is through the viewpoint of the feminine prism that it's only through empathy, right? Empathy first. And it's like, no, it's not always about empathy. It's also about reason. It's also about logic. It's also about understanding that we live in a carnal world full of warring tribes who are always killing each other. And that's part of the human condition. You can't afford to have your men losing control to emotion.
Okay,
I agree with some points that he had just mentioned, but let's go over it. Her, I don't know her name. Really don't care for her name. None of my business. But she said something about, she doesn't want her man to be overtly emotion or reactive, right? And she says, who's me to tell you what a man should be? Perfect. I like that she said that. Perfect. Because you should not be doing it. You don't know what a man's life is. So good on you for that one. Right? Listen, evil comes through the woman. It's written in the Bible. Okay? It's in the Bible. They are the first to judge you. And they will judge you accordingly. Because they are playing God. Once Eve ate the apple, she know no good and evil. She become just like God. She can judge. But you're not supposed to judge. Are you now? So guess what? Because women have made the devil their God, and it's written in the Bible, I should put enmity between the female seed and the snake field. You shall both be enemy for the rest of your life. And the reason for that is because women go in their imagination. And by Eve taking the apple, it caused that friction. They have fallen away from God. And Adam is subjective to the woman. So when a woman's going to tell you, oh, I want you to be emotional. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. That's the evil in her controlling you to be subjective to her. When that's not your nature. Your nature is of God. No emotions. Emotions are not from God. It's from the devil, the thoughts, the deceiver that the woman have made her God. So you're going to listen to the deceiver, which is in the woman? Or are you going to go back to your father because you will fall away from him because his wisdom flowed through you, the man? You're supposed to be the leader like Andrew Wilson said. Which are you going to do? It's up to you to choose. Are you going to work on yourself or keep chasing the woman that's going to keep leading you into hell? That makes your life miserable. Now to the point that Andrew had made. Now I forgot the points. He made a point here that I wanted to touch on.
It's through the viewpoint of the feminine prism that it's only through empathy, right?
have to go back a little bit more. I think.
And listen, you don't want men to fall to pieces in a crisis. You're the head of a family. You're the head of your
You are
household.
the head of the
And also
family,
you're the heads of
but
nations.
also-
You have a moral obligation not to fall to pieces.
True.
In fact, I would say you're duty bound not to. You need to be able to control your emotions, and you need to be able to...
There we go. Control emotions. You cannot control your emotions. No matter how hard you try, you can't control it. That's why society's so erratic. You hear this guy, oh, I feel like, so I just killed this guy. My emotions, they say they were abused as child coming up, and that's what caused them to act out. Because of their emotions, they can't control it. But you can't, because it's a spirit. You've identified with that spirit for so long when you were a kid, when you were traumatized. Because you were traumatized, you have identified the spirit that was passed down to you from your mom, because she's the emotional one. She passed it down to you. And the you can try to control it as much as you want. You cannot. You go into thoughts, get the emotions, then get the action. Because you can't get the emotions without the thought. You're judging yourself. And you're judging the situation, which makes you go into thoughts. Then you get the action. Then you get the emotion, I should say. Then the action flows. The only way to get rid of that spirit that you have identified with, the not you, is for you to seek after God. And He will shine the light on it for you. And He'll be able to take it away from you. You yourself can't do it. Therapy can't do it, because the more you go to therapy, the more you go deeper into it. Because now you're into thoughts, you're talking about your problem, and you keep identifying with the same problem when you go to therapy or when situations happen in your life. Because you cannot see the devil coming from a mile away to set you up. Amazing, isn't it? Working
it's
yourself.
only through empathy, right? Empathy first. And it's like, no, it's not always about empathy. It's also about reason. It's also about logic. It's also about understanding that we live in a carnal world full of warring tribes who are always killing each other.
People are
That's
evil.
part of the human condition. You can't afford to have your men losing control to emotion
Okay,
or to
James,
empathy.
Because
when
it
was the
makes
last time you
society
didn't cry
go crazy.
on holiday? Let's flip the question
I
around.
haven't cried today, but I did cry yesterday, and I think it's okay to cry. And it's funny that you keep trying to goad me and saying that I don't have
Beta
control over my
male.
emotions. I think I have incredible control over my emotions because I know what's upsetting me.
So why you're
and
crying?
And I'm able to talk about it.
Well, how often do you cry?
I mean, not all the time, but
Every day?
No, not.
It's funny thing is, it's the not him that's crying. And he's identified with the not him for so long. It controls him. And he's crying. But I understand. I hope the Lord help you, my guy. Any woman you get with, it will not last. She's going to see you as a female, unfortunately. But it's true.
Every day, Piers. I cried
2 or 3
yesterday. I
times a
probably
week?
haven't cried for about 3 weeks before that. But honestly, my therapist tells me I need to cry, and it's a good relief.
But the point being, Andrew hasn't cried in 10 years.
He has a
That's
therapist.
such a weakness, Andrew, that you haven't cried.
He has a therapist.
Like, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
to me.
Told me I could cry.
I'm so worried about you. I can't understand. Well, you're crying now, and please, I happily facilitated that for you.
I think we're seeing the two extremes.
And it's not helping him.
It's honestly, yeah, Tommy, you're so right. There's no nuance. I mean, it's difficult to have nuance on this show anyway, but we do need to find some in this debate.
I think the point is, men should not feel they can never emote, but also they shouldn't be encouraged to believe if they're not constantly emoting, there's something wrong with them.
Well, of course, but also
and that's where the pendulum has just gone too far.
You are also sort of guilty of this manosphere, Piers. You're very much in the manosphere yourself.
What do you think that means?
Well, it means that you think James Bond shouldn't cry, and that if he does, that's a weakness.
I want
and
James
that's
Bond
not
to
true.
be. I want him to seduce women.
Which he
I want
does.
him to be a ruthless, steely-eyed dealer
Yeah,
of death to
but-
bad guys.
but also-
I want him to have a cigarette with his whiskey or his
Like
shaken
Andrew
monster
here.
martini.
Maybe Andrew's your type.
And I don't want him sobbing like a baby
I
all
just
the
want
time.
to
I
say,
don't.
like Tommy might not.
Guess what? When you're in Her Majesty's Secret Service, you don't have time to cry all the time.
Very sad news about Her Majesty Piers. Sadly, she did pass away, and I'm
Right.
sure you cried at that, which is completely
His
within your
Majesty
right.
now, obviously. but
Tommy,
actually,
probably,
the last Bond film was under Her Majesty, so I was correct.
Fine. Great fact checking. Tommy would obviously like to go out with a man like you then, because you don't think it's okay for a man to cry.
Well, she
and
has
Tommy's into
excellent
that.
taste,
But
that-
there are
that's
other
true.
women who do like a man who cries. Like, we're not all the same. We don't all require the same type of man. So it's fine if we all want to be different types of men, but there shouldn't be one rule for all men, and that's the
All
problem.
right, let me bring Sean back.
Women lied to this guy. His mom lied to him. Every woman he's been with lied to him. Unfortunately, he's a beta male. He's a simp. And every woman he gets with is going to see him as a female. Not even this woman would even think twice. Even when she was younger, think twice to be with him. He's looking at him as weak.
Okay, and bring it back to Adolescence, because this series is blown up worldwide. It's got incredible numbers of people watching, talking about it, debating. A lot of parents thinking, what should they do if they have a young teenage boy? You know, and I saw it, as I said, with my 3 sons, the Jonathan Haidt book about cell phones, you know, from 2010, when phones became smartphones, basically young people's brains started scrambling, and they've carried on scrambling ever since. That doesn't help. I think a lot of the issues that young men face are driven by stuff they see on their phone.
I agree. I mean, you know, for this specific instance, my wife and I were waiting to give our children phones until at least 8th grade, right? At least 8th grade. We want to monitor what they're seeing and what they're being filled with, right? Because again, they're subject to search engines. They hear things at school, then they go home, they search it on their phone, they search it in their room, and now they're wide open to this world that they don't need to be a part of because their brains haven't fully formed yet. They're still little. My son's almost 12, right? I got to be very careful of what he puts in his mind. And social media, and for the things that we are doing as adults, yeah, it's pouring into our household and we're doing well with it. But for an adolescent, like these young kids, I'm seeing kids at dinners when we're at restaurant surfing TikTok while their parents are not even paying attention to what they're doing. Like,
and whose fault is
that?
that?
That right there is a massive problem. And if we don't, as a society, get a hold of that, then this will never end. There'll be more series like Adolescence that hit even harder because we're witnessing it in our own lives.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, you seem to be in agreement.
I just want to touch on a point where this guy said he wants to control what's happening in his house. He wants to control what his kids does. Unfortunately, that's not going to work because guess what? The more you try to control your kids, the more they're going to want to know. So just sit down, be an example. They will ask the question and you will answer. But you trying to control them, it shows that you still have the spirit of your mom because she's still controlling you. You're just like your mom. You're going to control them to do what you want when you want it, and they're going to resent you for it. And they're going to end up growing up hating you. Because you can't lead your household properly. I don't know if your woman is giving you this idea because honestly, it seems like your woman run your relationship. Honestly, that's not how a man works. A man would just tell the kids the truth and that's it. Doesn't matter how they're going to feel about it because feeling is irrelevant. Feeling is not good to have. Feelings control you. They manipulate you to do things you don't want to do. Just like Paul said. I understand that it's not me. It's a thing that I've made a home inside of me. Keeps getting me to do the things I don't want to do. And he has the same spirit. Being controlled by the spirit of his mom. Check this out. Tell your kids not to touch the hot stove and see if your kid is just going to go and touch the hot stove because they want to know. Look at this. There's a lot of kids that's traumatized from religion because when they were young, you force it on them. You tell them this. You tell them that. You didn't live an example for them to come and ask you, Dad, why do you do this? You force it onto them. So they end up resenting religion. They end up turning atheists. They turn away because you force things onto them. You should just live an example. And they will come and ask the question. It's that simple.
With some of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's poison. There's no doubt. It re-scrambles children's brains, and it's very difficult to monitor. Even if you have parental controls, they can find ways around it. At school, they have peers who will assist them in getting around it. You have to monitor it really well. Smartphone technology for my own kids, it was kind of new. I wish that I, in retrospect, had done more guarding against that myself. You don't know the dangers of that technology until children get a hold of it, and then you're left scrambling going, oh man, I wish I had known that this was going on or that was going on, but you have no idea. Now, though, we have a little bit of retrospect, and we know that it's an appropriate thing to do to guide against this type of technology because, yeah, he's absolutely right. It does create all sorts of problems for kids. I'm not sure that gets to the heart of the masculinity and feminine issue, but I totally agree with him that we should be safeguarding our children against this technology. It does seem to be very bad for them.
And you know, James, there is
ADHD.
pretty well unfettered pornography on the internet available to young men and women, obviously, but you know, men are watching a lot of often quite violent, degrading sexual scenes in these porn clips they're seeing online. None of that can help in the way an impressionable young male mind goes about trying to forge a real relationship with an actual woman.
Well, I think it's important not to say young male mind is any person's mind, right? Like, I don't think we should victimize men. I can't believe Andrew's agreeing with me. But, yeah, it's awful. I mean, I genuinely don't think people should have phones until they're 16. They certainly shouldn't have...
Well, Australia's done that, and I'm not against it.
Yeah.
The smartphone ban till 16.
I mean, it's terrifying.
Why not?
You can't go on air, on TV, and say whatever you want. Like, I know you're pretending that you're uncensored, but you couldn't sit here and say literally whatever you want. Well, not really, Piers, because if you said something that incited hatred or racism or a terror attack,
I wouldn't want to say
be
that.
arrested.
I wouldn't.
But online,
why would I want to incite a terror attack?
I'm not saying that you want to. I'm just trying to make a point. Online,
you're saying I can't say what I want.
Online,
I do not want to incite a terror attack.
But if you did,
I'm allowed. Just you're raising an interesting point about censorship.
Yeah,
we're uncensored because I would not want. I don't say anything I don't want to say.
Right.
So when you say I'm censoring, I'm actually self-censoring. I'm not. I'm not going to call for a terror attack.
I'm not saying that you would ever do that, of course, but I'm saying that if you did, there would be accountability for that because you are broadcasting to a lot of people.
Right.
But a lot of people online do not have that gate stopping them from saying horrendous things, and so therefore it can blow up online, excuse the horrible pun, and that shouldn't be allowed. There should be a system in place that stops people broadcasting things that aren't meant to be broadcast to millions of people.
One of the problems, Tommy, Toby Young, who's a British journalist, director of Free Speech Union, very, very big in promoting and defending free speech, says Adolescence, the new teen drama, is pro-censorship propaganda, partly paid for by the state. It is now being seized upon by Labour left-wing MPs as evidence we need more online censorship. And that is, of course, you talk about a swinging pendulum. What you don't want to come out of all this is an overreaction and an over-censorship, because that in itself becomes a problem.
It does.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with Sean on this point, too. I think parenting has more to do with this than any of us really, can even understand. I mean, many, I'm sure, in this panel can. But parenting is, to me, the end-all, be-all of all of this. I mean, you can watch horror...
And yet, I don't know if you have kids, you're working. Or you should be at home, raising your kids properly.
horrible things online. You can listen to people say horrible things, but if you've got a good foundation with good parents at home, hopefully too, that provides you with a lot of guidance and support to navigate these things, and it doesn't really, scramble your mind in the way that those that are not blessed with a two-parent household may be impacted by it. I don't believe that censorship is ever the answer. I believe that more speech is the answer to speech that you don't like, and as much as I don't like certain people online and what they say, whether they're the Tate brothers or whoever else, I believe that they should have the right and the ability to say it, and then people like us should have the right and ability to respond to it. I think that's the healthiest way to come to a great consensus, or at least a public square where we can all debate ideas with dialogue and conversation. But I don't think that censorship is ever the answer, and I think that our leaders in America have done a great job of emphasizing that, especially to the European countries who believe censorship is the way to cleanse or the way to legislate morality. I just don't think that's the way to do it.
Well, the instinctive reaction, certainly in the UK, for a long time now, many years, has been to censor and to ban and prohibit and so on. And I think people are beginning to wake up to the downside of that, is that once you chip away at things like freedom of speech, freedom of expression, you're heading down a pretty slippery road, which can be dictated by your government. And then that's not a place.
It's interesting though, isn't it? I mean, I just want to make a side point, and I don't need to get into it, but like your government are banning books. So they are literally talking about free speech whilst also banning free speech in it that they don't agree with. So what you're saying is nice, and I agree with you in principle,
from
but that's not literally
libraries
what
is
is
not
happening.
the same as banning books.
You talked about freedom of speech, right? And everyone coming together and
This guy is crazy.
having discussion about it, but that's not what's happening.
Yeah,
What?
but that
Putting
we're talking about
graphic
in the
gay
home,
porn
not in
into
school.
children's libraries is a little different.
I mean, no one should be putting porn into a children's library. I think we all agree on that.
Then why are you complaining that that's being
Because that's
banned?
not what I'm discussing. I'm discussing books that talk about diversity, equality, that talk about Black Lives Matter, that talk about gay pride.
Bro, Black Lives Matter is a scam. What is this guy talking about? DEI is a scam. What is this guy talking about? This is crazy.
Yeah, so I don't have the same take as the rest of the panel when it comes to the idea of legislating morality. I think that there are ideas which are subversive and that we can get rid of, and that's absolutely fine to do. I don't think that we need to have unfettered access to pornography. I don't think that we need to have unfettered access to children being introduced to this type of sexuality so young. I don't think that that's necessary at all. I don't think it's an impingement on free speech at all. And not only that, there's going to necessarily be limits on every single freedom that we have. By necessity, that's the way it has to be, unfortunately. And the reason it has to be that way is because otherwise you're going to have nothing but subversives who go in and subvert your entire culture, which is exactly what happened in the UK, and it's exactly what's been happening in the United States. So we have to have some way to fight back against that.
All right.
The reason why so many men are subjective to porn is because they hate women. I just have to say it. You're subjective to porn, you hate women. Because your mom traumatized you, you resented her, you hate her. You don't know how to deal with it because you've taken on that evil spirit, and you're searching for salvation. It's like going to the drug dealer to get salvation. The more you go into it, the deeper you get, and you're looking towards. It's like you get in a relationship with a woman. It's only for comfort. You'll be there for a while, but yet you're gonna go chase after another woman because that's not your salvation. It can never satisfy you. You're going to go chase after another woman. And you're going to chase after another woman. And unfortunately, you don't know how to deal with it. You know something is wrong, but you don't know what it is. And even though you may end up in a relationship where it didn't work out, you get frustrated, you get angry, tell yourself you will never, ever go back in a relationship. But yet you find yourself in another relationship. And the same thing happened over again. It's because you're looking for salvation through the drug, and the drug cannot save you. It's an evil spirit that have taken over your body, and that's why sometimes men they turn into boy in their relationship with their woman. They become violent or they become abuser to women because they can't control themselves, because they just can't, but they know something is wrong. The only thing you need to do is go and forgive your mom for whatever she did to you when you were young that caused you to take on her spirit and be emotional and subjective to women. That's the only way you can get over it. And by doing that, God will forgive you. And He will shine the light on everything else for you. And you'll see what is happening with you. And you start working on yourself to find yourself back to the Father.
Sean, final word to you.
I just feel like, raising children is a multi-pronged approach, right? I mean, you're looking at first in the house, then you're looking at the schools, you're looking at the government, you're looking at extracurricular activities with coaches, etc., and different people that have their hands on the child. I just think it's important to be at home having these open conversations, right? What this drama series did for me was already had this shining light on a subject, but made it even brighter. Like, I need to open the door and talk to my child. I need to talk to my son. I need to talk to my daughter to see what's going on in the world, right? Because if I don't know what's going on, then I can't help them navigate what's going on in society.
But I think, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, you can talk to them, but how you deal with the situation is a different way. You can talk to them, get angry at them, yet now you traumatize them and they're not going to want to come to you and talk to you about anything. because you don't know how to show love when discussing things with them. Do you know how to discuss things with them? Are you going to be angry at them because they did something wrong? Let me know. If you're watching and you have a child, how do you deal with situation with your child? Do you get angry at them? Do you get frustrated? Do you get frustrated at them? Do you? That's not the way to deal with it, because you're only going to make the situation worse for them and for yourself.
It's been a fascinating debate. I just think if you don't know that your child is going down rabbit holes like that kid is in that series for that length of time, then it comes to Tommy's point, is you're failing your parenting. That is a fundamental part of parenting. Is you're supposed to be protecting these impressionable young minds as best you can. If they're spending hours after hour every day, watching and viewing incredibly disturbing content that fries their brains and makes them do stuff they wouldn't otherwise have done, you are failing as a parent. And one of the biggest issues in the world right now is a general sense of a lack of accountability for parents. They're the first feckless parents to blame everybody else. It's the government's fault, it's the police fault, it's the social workers' fault, it's the school teachers' fault, etc., etc. It's never their fault. And actually, if you just start by saying, actually, we should have done more as parents, that is a good message to send.
I have to agree with Pierce on that one.
And everybody. We can probably all agree on that. Great discussion.
Absolutely.
Great discussion. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
I just have to touch on one point before I let this video flies. We don't fight with flesh and blood. All these people up here, they're still in the violent state. I can tell because of their talking points. You'll see it. They're the flesh that we think we're fighting against, but it's not. It's spirits that they have identified with their mind, with their body, for so long grown up as kids. They think it's them, but it's the false them that controls them. Remember, we fight with principality, with spirit and principalities, not the flesh and blood. But let me know what you think.